Psychologists have shown that people make these verbal switches.
It becomes like a real fundamentalist religion.
Organisms, when they realize they're being deceived.
It sounds like normal propaganda.
Language, to me, greatly increases the opportunity for deception in our lineage, misinformation, and it greatly increases the opportunities for self-deception as well. Do you think it matters much when you think about the leaders, like, let us say, the present set of organisms that launched this dreadful Iraq misadventure? When you're thinking about things like that, how important to you is it their level of self-deception? We know they launched the whole thing in a swarm of lies. The evidence for that's too overwhelming to even need to be referred to now. My view is that the deception entrains self-deception very easily.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure they launched it with lies.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's perfectly possible that they believed it.
Yes.
It's, I mean, in fact, if you look, we don't have a detailed record, but from the record we have, it looks as if they were kind of cherry-picking. They had a goal,
yes,
you know, and then they sort of cherry-picked intelligence and coerced intelligence,
yes,
to yield evidence that would contribute to that goal.
yes.
And anything that conflicted with it just was tossed out, or in fact the people were tossed out. It's so automatic. In fact, you can see it very clearly by just comparing historical events which are similar. You know, they're never identical, but similar. So say take the Russian invasion of Afghanistan, the Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Just take those three. Well, you know, from the point of view of the people who perpetrated it, it was a noble effort and done for the benefit of everyone. No reason to think they were lying. There was criticism of the war in the Russian Soviet press, same kind that there is here. Mm-hmm. It's costing too many lives. You know, poor brave soldiers dying in vain. We can't bring the gifts we want to bring to the Afghan people. It almost translates. But we can't see it for ourselves. We can see it for them. You know, like nobody doubts that the Russians committed aggression, that Saddam Hussein committed aggression. With regard to ourselves, it's impossible. We just cannot adopt towards ourselves the same sane attitudes that we adopt easily, in fact reflexively, when others commit crimes. And if anyone says it, educated people, liberal intellectuals are infuriated because it suggests that we could do something that's not noble. We can make mistakes. That's easy, you know. So you can criticize mistakes. You can criticize low-level crimes, like Abu Ghraib. You can criticize that. You can criticize My Lai, but not the educated, civilized people, the kind of people we have dinner with, you know, see at concerts, sitting in air-conditioned offices, planning mass murder. So that's beyond criticism. You can criticize Lady England, you know, disadvantaged young woman, very different from us. But how about the guys who organized and planned it? Are there any animal analogs to anything?
Well, I don't know. I believe that self-deception has evolved in two situations, at least, in other creatures. And I believe it could be studied, and I've suggested a way to do it, but nobody's done it. When you are making an evaluation of another animal in a combat situation, let's say male-male conflict, the other organism's sense of self-confidence is a relevant factor in your evaluation.
And that's shown by its behavior, you mean?
Yes, exactly.
So, you know,
and so
gorilla beating it, thumping its chest. And all that kind of
yes, and suppressing signs of fear and not giving away, so forth. So you can imagine selection for overconfidence, selection for suppressing...
For showing overconfidence, even if it's not real. You mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Likewise in situations of courtship, where females are evaluating males. And again, the organism's sense of self is a relevant parameter. We all know that people that have a low opinion of themselves, that's a sexual and romantic turnoff right there. So again, you can have selection without language, it seems to me, for biased kinds of information flow within the organism to keep up a false front.
And that's not necessarily, it may be that the animal that's putting up a false front knows it's a false front.
Indeed, but it may benefit from not knowing it.
Yeah.
It may act more...
Because it's easier to do it.
Easier to do it, and perhaps more convincing, because you're not giving away evidence.
Secondary signs.
Exactly, secondary signs. To give you just one line of work there that is of some interest. Repeatedly, what we find now in wasps, in birds, and in monkeys, that organisms, when they realize they're being deceived, get pissed off, forgive my English. They often attack the deceiver, but especially if the deceiver is over-representing him or herself. If you're underrepresenting and showing yourself as having less dominance than you really have or whatnot, no, you're not. And the ones that attack you are precisely those whose dominant status you are attempting to expropriate or mimic.
There's a name for that in the international affairs literature. It's called maintaining credibility. So you have to carry out violent acts to maintain credibility, even if the issue is insignificant.
Right. And that's a
kind of like the
rationale
mafia.
for...
It's kind of like the mafia.
Yeah, indeed.
Some people lie about this, that, and the other. Other people lie about one another. Everybody lies a little.